The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
The summer of 2004 at 20.
Friday has come, and with it, another music video closer on the summer of 2004 at 20 on the Brandon Peters Show. Today, join me is a veteran of the Summer of series from the Saturday Evening Post and chaplain of the local Baphomet chapter in Indianapolis, Troy Brownfield.
Greetings, Brandon.
Greetings. So, Troy, welcome. This is your third summer of. We bump by 11 years every time. So you started in 82, went to 93, and now you're a champion of 2004. What was Troy in 2004 up to at this time?
Man. Adult shit. In the summer of 2004, my wife and I found out we were having our first kid. And I started teaching at St. Mary of the Woods College that fall. So August, I was firmly entrenched in, getting that gig set up. And so, it was an interesting transitional period.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Friend Jules would say from Pulp Fiction, you happen to catch me in a transitional period, so I'm not going to kill you. But yeah, it was a weird time. And it's funny because I was thinking that like the two particular songs that we landed on, I was in this college environment very rapidly that it was at the time an all women's liberal arts Catholic college in the middle of Indiana. But which makes it kind of an island unto itself. But it was a place where there was all kinds of music.
Yeah.
And I was teaching some classes that were related to writing, some that were related to film and so forth. And so there was a vast expanse of stuff being traded about musically and so forth. And it was also the time that MySpace was huge and Facebook was just getting launched, and Facebook was in the colleges before it was elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so I had students telling me, get on this thing. I'm like, well, I've already been on like Friendster and MySpace and shit. But that was the kind of thing that was happening. So a lot of this stuff was getting shared that way. So it was just, there was a very heavy music period.
Yeah. And when you're in college, you're getting it all for free off LimeWire or whatever. So definitely it's a different, this is the era that's taking down the record industry, basically.
Yeah. And I was still, that year, my best friend Sean moved to Seattle to work for Amazon, but for several years prior, we'd been heavily involved in the music scene in Indianapolis. He had a band and I managed, and we played in a comedy group and some other stuff. And so it had been like a real heavy around a lot of bands, emerging music kind of situation too. So it's kind of interesting when you ask about, doing music about this time period, because it was very heavy.
Right.
In a way for me at the time.
Gotcha. Well, that's very, very interesting. So as we do, we're going to go over, and if you have thoughts on any of these, the movies that were discussed on the Monday episode that precedes this one, starting with DeLovely. Do you remember that one?
I do remember it. I don't think I ever saw it, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was Kevin Kline, Oscar hopeful. It's very much Maestro of its time. Liked Maestro a lot better than De Boring, as I referred to it. America's Heart and Soul. It's a documentary from Disney that's kind of like one of those like, hey, America's still awesome, guys. But it features Trombone Shorty, like a real young kid Trombone Shorty. So there's that one. There's The Clearing, which is with Robert Redford and Willem Dafoe and Helen Mirren, where like a former employee of Robert Redford's kidnaps him and takes him out gunpoint.
Yeah, I seem to have a memory of seeing that, but I really couldn't tell you anything about it. So
Gotcha.
I'm really letting you down on the movie side right now.
Well, maybe the next two. Before Sunset, the sequel to Before Sunrise.
Oh, yeah. Great,
That's
great movies.
excellent movie. And the reason I picked you for this one is because it's the week of Spider-Man 2, released on June 30th, the Wednesday before 4th of July weekend. So let's talk about, because Troy, you one thing that gets away from us, I think, talking a lot on these things, again, I bring in the Saturday reports, but you are a comic book writer and have been involved in the comic scene for decades.
Yeah. In fact, I'm wearing my Spider-Man's high school shirt for the
Yes.
episode. But Midtown Academy of Science. But I I mentioned my friend Sean just a minute ago.
Mhm.
Sean and his wife Heather got married that week.
Okay.
Spider-Man 2 came out, and our friend Bill and his wife Cheryl, our friend Bill from college, came in town, and myself, my wife, Bill and his wife, saw Spider-Man 2
Hmm.
that weekend. So it was a very celebratory time, and so it was cool to see it with friends and whatnot. And I still think that even with everything that's come after, Spider-Man 2 is one of the standard bearers for superhero movies. It's one of the high water marks. I can't conceive of a top 10 list without it,
Yeah.
because it's just does so many things right in the context of the genre. And it's the movie that Ebert gave 3.5 stars to, and someone wrote in to give him crap because he also gave 3.5 stars to The Godfather 2.
Yeah.
And Ebert's like, look, I'm reviewing everything on their own merits within their own genre and so forth. And if I look at all dramas, etc., crime films or whatever, and I think that Godfather 2 is this good, I look at superhero, fantasy, etc. movies, I think Spider-Man 2 is equally as good in its own vertical.
Yeah.
And he's like, do I think that one is necessarily as good? Like, no, they're different things. But if you look at the context of this has to be appreciated for a level of greatness.
Hmm.
And I thought it was
And
really
that's three and a
informative.
half out of 4, not 5.
Yeah,
The Ebert
yeah,
was always 4 stars.
yeah. 3.5 out of 4.
Hmm.
Um, there's one level of for the younger viewers. You have to appreciate how great Alfred Molina was, because they brought him back in a whole ass other universe to be
Right.
Octopus again. I mean, you got to appreciate how good some of the performances
Yeah.
are.
Well, and I just think the work of Sam Raimi is excellent too. And
Oh yeah,
I go back to these. I'm like, man, these just have an energy, a look, like they feel like big old movies, and they kind of there's a definitely a screwball comedy aspect to them. Uh, like like very old timey, because he's a different generation, and this
yeah,
movie's not that far from it, but um. And it's just like it's like, wow, there's nothing like these, like, unless you're watching other Sam Raimi movies. But it's really just like, wow, these are just really well done, and just this guy's got a voice and an energy, and he's putting stuff in here, and it feels like there's like a personal feeling to these Spider-Man movies, and I really like it. Even the third one, that we all kind of scoffed at when it came out, looking back, it's like, well, it's not that bad. There's good things about it, but it's just
yeah,
overstuffed beyond, not Sam Raimi's fault, and he kind of was bitter and giving him a middle finger for forcing some things on him. But
yeah.
there's still some stuff in there that's like, okay, this is solid enough. But
Yeah, there's also a really interesting thing of Raimi um, being Midwestern and um, having really good luck with wooded settings for
yeah.
films like A Simple Plan and Evil Dead and so forth. But man, he really gets New York
Hmm.
and has two extremely, and it's also interesting in the wake of 9/11 that the
Hmm.
Spider-Man, you got to properly contextualize that. This is New York post 9/11.
Yeah.
And New Yorkers love Ghostbusters, but New Yorkers love the Toby Spider-Man movies, and they
Hmm.
have that connection.
They're a character in this movie.
Yeah,
He makes sure that New York is felt.
yeah. There's the scene in the first one where Spidey's trying to save the elevated train, and the Green Goblin is swooping at him, and the people on the bridge start throwing debris at the Goblin to try to protect Spider-Man.
Hmm.
And then you have like a very literal take on that in the subway.
Yeah.
In the elevator, well, and the people saving Spider-Man and passing him, giving him his mask off, and like everybody's gonna keep the secret
Yeah.
because New York.
Yeah. New York, yeah, all the strong, New York strong, you ain't doing nothing. So yeah, which the first movie was completed before 9/11, and then famously had the trailer with the two towers had to be taken down. But this, yeah, Spider-Man 2 is literally the first one post 9/11. But this that New York energy they add to it, and it's like, yeah, no one's stopping New York. You know, that was kind of our thing in the early mid 2000s about we all were all for New York. You know, it was all good. The Knicks were sucking, so it was okay. The Diamondbacks beat the Yankees in the World Series. But it was okay, you know, like, but everybody was pro New York. It was good to see because if they felt good, the rest of us felt good. That was kind of like the thing. But you know, I truly I feel like I look back now and I'm like, I don't think I appreciated the Spider-Man movies from Sam Raimi as much as I should have back when they came out.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment because the Spider-Man movies also exist in this weird pocket of, you know, it removed 20 some years. The context is a little different. But starting in 1999, we've got the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
And then in 01, before Clones comes out, we get Fellowship. And so we've got Fellowship and Spidey and then Clones.
And Harry Potter's in there too.
Yeah, and so this stuff's all happening. So it's this huge surge in, let's face it, nerd-oriented cinema.
Oh, the X-Men are big too. They'll be bigger with their next
X-Men,
movie, but
2003. So it's all happening simultaneously in this big lift. But I think you're right that Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings are getting a lot of the oxygen in the room, even though Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 did extremely well.
Spider-Man kneecaps Attack of the Clones because every time. So before Phantom Menace was coming out, and like, oh, this is gonna be the biggest movie of all time. Well, you know what came out? Not technically the year before, but it came out the switch between 97 and 98. Titanic, which became the biggest movie of all time, and then Attack of the Clones was just one of the biggest movies of all time. And then, all right, well, or no, sorry, Phantom Menace came out was one of the. No, here comes Attack of the Clones. This is it. They're gonna. Oh, Spider-Man had the biggest weekend of opening weekend of all time. Oh well, shit. And now Attack of the Clones had one of the biggest weekends of all time. Like it kept getting. The only one that got to come out and enjoy itself was Revenge of the Sith. The first two. Something else did what that movie was supposed to do right before. Oh, the great trilogy winning an Oscar, The Lord of the Rings. It did it. So like
that's right.
Everything the prequels wanted to do, or the perception was they were supposed to do, somebody undercut it along the way. Like but like, and that's kind of like another tossing on them, which is like we could just like let them. Granted, it had such hype on at least the Phantom Menace, like that it was just like insane to like live up to anything to really appreciate. I'm glad that there's a generation that has come up. It's like, no, we like those fucking movies, man. Like we were kids, and you saw it with the right eyes, you know, like growing up. Like that was the thing. Tribalism, internet tribalism begins with the Phantom Menace. Like that's pretty much where that genesis is.
I see people still today, 50-year-old men, people, and I am a 50-year-old man, but people pushing to shit on new Star Wars stuff that they haven't seen yet. But they'll take a minute to stop and take swipes at the prequels. And I'm like, you're still mad? You've been mad like at 30, and you're mad now that it was made for people younger than yourself. And, I find that sad, especially also in the context of I've written a whole lot of I've written a lot of Star Wars trading cards and stuff in an official capacity. And having watched the prequels again, sometimes scene by scene, I appreciate him a lot more.
Oh no. Oh yeah. There's a whole thing. Lucas was in many ways, he was ahead of all of us with it. He was ahead of the game. Like he knew it. And I listened to it, and he was like, it sounded like he was making up bullshit to cover it, like, but he was right. He's like, no, I made the originals for this audience. I made it for this audience. And like stuff he's doing in the prequels is far ahead. And like a lot of the people, it's funny how people poke at like the prequels with politics when they start. They talk, oh, the political blah blah blah. It's really easy to follow, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
it's kind of the fuel of it. And it's funny. Then they'll be like, but those, those Timothy Zahn books, that was the good stuff. I'm like, you realize those were very politics
Oh
based
yeah.
too, because they were trying to start the rebellion, and it went from we were all together in this fight. Now when it comes to leading, our inner fighting comes, and that's good stuff. And
Yeah.
Star Wars, there are politics in the original trilogy. You just chose to like, oh look, blaster, lightsaber, like.
Yeah. Well, in Phantom Menace, I did some stuff pursuant to the 25th anniversary,
Mhm.
and the watching, if you watch closely, if you're paying attention to scene by scene stuff like I was,
Mhm.
about 8 minutes of that movie is spent on like Trade Federation talk.
Right, yeah.
About 8 minutes of a 220 however long hour movie. That is what killed it.
Yeah, well, that's like when people bash The World Is Not Enough. Oh, Denise Richards, Denise Richards. I'm like, dude, she's literally in like 6 minutes. Like she
Yeah,
shows up later in the film. It's I honestly believe it's a joke, her character and her casting. It honestly, watching it now, it feels kind of tongue in cheek and classic Bond. Like, and there are way worse Bond
yeah,
girls, because if you actually watch all the James Bonds, you learn that. And she's not great, but she doesn't hamper the movie. There's a whole 2 hours besides that going on that's excellent. To me, excellent. So
yeah. I think it's almost 2 hours into the movie when she shows up, and I feel
yeah,
like the whole idea of her character's name is just for the last joke. I mean, there's no,
she's spouting out techno babble like every supermodel they cast in a James Bond film does. She's
yeah,
just the one that's from the United States and not saying it with an accent. So like they
yeah,
pick up on it. So, but it's like it's just unfairly no. But if you're Denise Richards and you get offered the new James Bond movie, you fucking take it. Like what?
yeah.
What are you thinking? Like just like I'll never blame Alicia Silverstone for being Batgirl. Like you get
No, no,
offered Batgirl, you fucking take it.
right.
Jeez. So yeah. So this is a huge chat. But Spider-Man 2, this one, yeah, this came and was loved on the site, and I gotta mention, I think I do on the episode, but those opening credits for Spider-Man 2 are just gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yes, Spider-Man 2, which is what I brings you here, Troy, because we're going to talk about Vindicated, which was Dashboard Confessional's single from the soundtrack to Spider-Man 2, which later featured as a bonus track on their fourth album, which was 2006's Dusk and Summer. Originally, Dashboard Confessional was supplying the song I Need a Sure Thing for the film, but after they had a preview screening of the movie, singer Chris Carrabba wrote Vindicated in 10 minutes, and then they went to record it and used it instead. This song peaked at number 2 on the United States alternative airplay chart and number 31 on the U.S. mainstream top 40. This again, my qualifier. We are allowed to talk soundtrack songs now on the Summer of series. That's my thing. We did that. But so Troy, Dashboard Confessional, were you big into them back then? Still like them, or?
Well, I gotta say, the thing that's interesting is, clearly at least emo adjacent. And
No, it is emo punk. There's an emo punk wave going on, and they are at
yeah,
the head of it. They're probably the most popular one,
yeah, this is
or
the phase. You're
yeah,
gonna be going through the couple of crests. There's the gothy flavored version. There's the My Chemical Romance, and
yeah.
the Academy is, and all these bands are happening at this. Fallout Boy's gonna break out.
Fall Out Boys. Fall Out
Uh,
Boy becomes the biggest, but yeah.
yeah, the
Was
distinguishing
Death
factor.
Cab one of them? Is Death
I'd say
Cab,
they
or I don't?
preceded that.
Okay,
But the distinguishing thing is MySpace.
right.
These were bands that were farming huge followings using MySpace at the
Hmm.
time. And that's a really interesting thing. I also love that Dashboard Confessional's greatest hits album was the best ones of the best ones. Great name. I didn't have.
I liked Real Big Fishes. It
Oh,
was greatest hit and 13 other tracks.
that's right.
I think that was the title. But yeah.
I think you're right. But I didn't have like a particular affinity for them as an entity, outside of this. What I think it is funny is this follows a mini tradition with Daredevil, the Affleck Daredevil, and then the first
Oh,
Spider-Man, of having very thoroughly post 90s rock heavy soundtracks that lasts weirdly even until the Avengers. But the soundtrack albums, everybody knows Evanescence and whatnot, but Chevelle and all that's on the Daredevil soundtrack. And then the
Fuel
Nickelback.
was on Daredevil too. Like Daredevil was a
Yeah.
huge soundtrack, but Daredevil like launched Evanescence because like
Yeah.
they had the big one that they put like a trailer out with it. Then
Yeah.
that song
Bring Me
was
to
huge,
Life.
and then My Immortal was also on that and became huge. They had like two off there, and they broke out with that one.
Yeah, and then the first Spider-Man movie had the big hit with Hero with Nickelback and the lead singer Saliva teaming up. But all the songs were like that. And so this soundtrack has that
Oh,
similar.
Punisher had one too with the Evanescence girl and the guy from Slipknot, Corey or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. So this was like the superhero thing. Except for the X-Men movies had music by like Curve and stuff. So they're slightly different. Chinese Bird by Curve was on the trailer. Yeah, so it was this very kind of rock heavy, young bands, etc. This is what you did for these. And then leading up to Avengers starts to turn a little bit because it's got that first new Soundgarden song in years, Live to Rise, and it's got
Yeah.
We're in This Together by Nine Inch Nails. And but this song in particular, he does a tremendous job of matching the imagery of the song to both the theme of the movie and getting some great spider imagery in there,
Yeah.
like the hanging from a thread and so forth. He really captures a spirit of it, and it is a good mid-tempo rocker that really fits in credits.
No, it's perfect. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, and I tell you, so I liked this song when it came out. I thought it was a step up from doing Nickelback on the last one, which was actually, it's weird because it's not Nickelback. It's Chad Kroger
Yeah.
featuring Josie, what's his name, from Saliva.
Yeah.
But it's Nickelback playing in the video. But it's not like, and I'm like, what happened here? Like, what kind of legal thing went on? Or like Spider-Man people are like, we're only paying Chad for this. We don't want the rest of them. But for that one, but like I went back when I was doing this and I'm on YouTube, and like they had an acoustic like anniversary performance of this. It was just him by himself. And man, that song hit like that. And so now I have a deeper appreciation for the song, the way it like he was like, it was like this emotional performance. And I'm like, damn. So I really not like, I'm now much higher on Vindicated than I was before putting that to it. And it really, the solo acoustic one of him really allowed you to focus on those lyrics and the emotion behind them too. And like, it felt like Peter Parker was singing this, like, like,
yeah. I think that's a really great
which
point.
is a good soundtrack song. It's
Oh,
a good soundtrack song if you're doing that.
Yeah, the set identification there is really, really strong. And of the three movies, I don't know. I have to say, I think that 2 has the most turbulent Peter Parker arc.
Yeah.
The first one is all the origin stuff. The third one is a little wobbly with the goofy Venom shit, but he gets his stuff back together for the end of it. But this is the actual Peter suffering, giving up being Spider-Man, having the real crisis of conscience to the point where his powers are screwing up. And that so music like this fits it perfectly.
Yeah.
It just melds with that whole thematic and narrative stuff that he's going through.
Yeah, the instrumental intro, the instrumental and the intro too, just like feels like a credits are about ready to start. Like it's just, it's kind of, it's very, I don't know, it's incidental probably, but like it just fits. Like, yeah, this it just could roll to like a ton of movies like the start or whatever.
Yeah. And I think, oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, I also think it needs it bears repeating how extremely well the first and last shots of Spider-Man 2 match with the Mary Jane billboard and the Mary Jane waiting on Peter when he goes out after the sirens. I mean, talk about that complete
Yeah, it's brilliant.
arc with the music,
Well,
it's
and it's got, it's funny, like it's got a like I applaud Raimi the choice of the end because it doesn't end like woohoo Spider-Man Mary Jane. It holds on her, and you see Kirsten Dunst just kind of maybe not sure about what's going on. Like it's brilliant, and we did not treat her right, and I said the other episode before because she is a brilliant performer, and people focus too much on her just being a young girl in the
yeah,
tabloids and stuff, and trying to take her down. Like she's her adulthood performances have been phenomenal, but like she was good back then too, and working with her stuff with working with Sofia Coppola and things, and we just like they want it like guys can be like shitheads and when they're younger, it's like, oh, look at them just partying it up. But a girl does it, and it's like,
oh yeah,
no.
and
And
people want to act like that opening scene of Bring It On is an absolutely genius too.
yeah, well, and we all like, and during this time too, like this 2000s, like the way the pop art, like Colin Farrell, like we all thought he was an asshole. No, he just didn't like press. He just want to kind of be left alone. Like, and now
Yeah,
we're like, oh yeah, this guy. And then they're not, but they keep seeing like his big movies he's in, and not seeing like they're not going to the little ones where he's like showing like tremendous range, playing endearing characters, like good stuff. But they're
yeah,
like, oh, he really is the guy from Daredevil. Like that's all they're seeing and stuff. And he's had, some lackluster box office performers with him as the lead, but like, yeah, I remember like, oh, he's a bad boy. He's an asshole. Like, why? Because he like wore sunglasses out the street.
yeah,
Like what? Like it was just really bad with and the British tabloids are still this way, but I think,
yeah,
but Kirsten Dunst, yeah, like very much like that. But yeah, that ending is just like, oh, okay. Like what? Okay. Like it's almost cliffhangery.
yeah,
Um, but so Sam Raimi directs the movie, but this music video is directed by Nigel Dick, who also did the Hero video from the last Spider-Man. So keeping that going down. But if you grew up in the '90s,
yeah,
this guy was a bit of a household name in pop culture for like music. Like you knew like Nigel Dick, because he does like he starts with like Tears for Fears, Toto, Guns N' Roses, Cheap Trick, and then moves on like to the '90s. He's doing Oasis, Savage Garden, Matchbox
yeah.
20, Backstreet Boys, Britney, and then I mean, doing
He
Stained,
directed,
Train, Three Doors Down, like, and their biggest videos as well. Like it's Drops of Jupiter he's doing. It's like Back on Earth with Oz. Like he's doing Be Like That, Three Doors Down, like
yeah,
big ones.
maybe
Yeah.
one more time, didn't he?
He did Crazy, Drive Me Crazy.
Crazy. Okay.
Crazy. But he might have been a sound because that was on the soundtrack for a movie called Drive Me Crazy. So
Yeah.
he might have just been like a studio, like, hey, we need a music video for a soundtrack. Go. Like he might have been part time that, but he's just like pivotal in the music. Like he's like one of the biggest names of all time in music video direction.
Yeah, and that's something to note for historical purposes that for the first 8 years or so of MTV, they didn't have the director's name credited, and it's not really
Mm-hmm.
the turn of the '90s that the director gets credited at the
Yeah.
bottom. And some directors started putting their names at the beginning of the video to begin with, like Hype Williams and whatnot. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like a Hype Williams video,
He had
or
a logo.
yeah, or Spike when Spike did like Fight the Power and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
He would put his name
Right.
in the video.
And there's a lot of like because there's a lot like I talk about this all the time, but like it's fascinating to me because there's so many people with there's no collection. Like we don't have an IMDb for music videos. We don't have like liner notes on album recording. We don't have that for music videos. There are directors we don't know of or that haven't been credited with things because we don't
Yeah,
know. There are actors that are prominent people and models in videos that aren't credited with things. There was like this a couple back when we did back a long time ago. I did a Cheap Trick music video, and it's about a girl, and you're following this girl around. There's Cheap Trick. Who is she? Who is
yeah.
she? Nobody knows.
You and I had the discussion about the 38 special videos that
Yeah,
had the same actress in a
yeah,
couple of videos, and you wouldn't have had any idea who any of these people were unless
yeah.
it was a case of an actual famous person showing up to
Mm-hmm.
take a role in, like Keith Carradine in
Yeah.
Material Girl.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh, I know that guy, but
yeah, Nigel Dick, he's there. He also he directs some movies, but most notably, he did the TV movie Together for the one with
yeah,
Chris Farley's brother. That was the fake boy band group that I
yeah,
think they had a TV series spin off of it too, on MTV.
yeah.
There's that. But this music video, it's Dashboard Confessional. They're playing in Doc Ock's lair, and clips from the movie play, and there's like shot like comic panels because it starts in
Yeah.
an office with the comic book blowing open, and we see all that. So I mean, it's your typical. There's not a lot going on. It's a typical promotion video for that, but very cool on the set with stuff. They even did a like behind the video of making of this one, and it's like, why? It's not that extravagant of a video. I get when you do Blink 182 all the small things, but when you're just like,
Right.
so they told Toby and Kirsten to leave for the day, and we had like 3 hours just like play the song and then shoot us. So yeah, that's the video.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny that they did the comic panel bit, you know, it's in the beginning and then they do it a couple other places
Mhm.
because it's the year after
Hulk, yeah,
Ang Lee's Hulk gets so much shit for doing the same thing.
right, right. Which that movie, you go back to that, it's like, wow, this has a lot of character to it that maybe I should appreciate back then. You know?
Yeah, there's parts of that movie that are a complete mess.
Mhm.
Like the insane darkness of the final fight for
Right. Yeah.
but holy shit, some of those panel constructions are great.
Yeah.
And like when Glenn Talbot gets blown up in the explosion and it like outlines him and the
Yes.
panel sweat. That's great. That's what it would look like on the page.
Mhm.
I mean, his sensibility of it is perfect, but people weren't ready for it.
No, no. There's a lot of stuff we're not ready for.
If James Gunn did the same thing, people would freak out.
People would
But
freak out and it'd make like 8 million at the box office barely. But you know, like it's so come on, Superman, let's do this. But yeah. So yeah, I really dig this. I can't remember any more Dashboard Confessional songs. I wasn't into the emo scene. I did like one band, um, emo band. I had one of the albums. It was At the Drive-In. They did that
oh yeah,
song One Arm Scissor. Like that one. I like them. But they like quit really fast, right? Were they
yeah.
one of those like, oh crap, we got popular, we're breaking up, thanks for listening?
Whereas Dashboard Confessional just had an album in 2022,
Yeah,
so they're still hanging around.
they're still hanging around, still playing. That's yeah, this little emo punk city. And then like this has been around the time the matches were trying to get big, which I like to mention. One of my favorite episodes is the one where I talked to Chelsea Christer, who directed their documentary called Bleeding Audio, which was a band that was like Dashboard Confessional and trying to make it. Plain White Tees, that was another one, right? Were they one of the emo? Yeah, but
I
they
gotta
were.
say that my eternal criticism of Delilah is I was always waiting for that song to kick in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought you know it started out with that it was just the crunch was going to come and it was going to launch. No,
No,
it never does.
they're like that. It's like that moment. Have you seen Godzilla X Kong yet?
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
okay. Well, I will save my mini minutia criticism of a specific scene on that till after you've seen it. There's like a very nerdy, nitpicky musical edit that drove me batty, and it was like I thought I was going to be given something that I was gonna just like explode and be like yes, and they didn't give it to me. They took it away right at the point of impact. Damn it. So
The orchestra wasn't actually playing bad guy. Is that what you're saying?
yes, that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this Dashboard Confessional one. So Troy, thank you for coming back, and you'll be back towards the very end of this series. I think there's like you and then like the final episode or something like that. So till then, where can people keep up with you?
Please do check out the Saturday Evening Post, SaturdayEveningPost.com, which is where I'm executive editor and do lots of writing about stuff like recently talked about the 40th anniversaries of Tina Turner's Private Dancer and Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, but I also do weird stuff like the real life crime that inspired The Natural, the Robert Redford film. So,
Oh, very awesome. What's your favorite track on Born in the USA?
my favorite track on Born in the USA, it has always been Glory Days.
Okay.
That's from the very beginning when I got the record. It was Glory Days was my favorite, and it's just because, um, for me, like Springsteen's always narrative,
Mhm.
and I really liked the idea of, the guy who is. I kind of feel like the narrator is kind of stuck. The narrator's just trying to have a drink, and like the
Yeah.
guy is talking about baseball. It's just kind of a turn on how, like, I think a lot of people receive that song, but I'm like, I know those guys who like
Yeah.
always want to talk about their one season of high school football or whatever, and it's like it's so relatable because the narrator isn't the guy.
Yeah.
It's everybody around the narrator. It's the guy that
Well, I
comes in
think
the
it
bar,
is
it's the
because
girl he's dating.
yeah. The video is Springsteen doing so, and there's a hilarious moment in the video where it's all baseball, and he's sitting
Yeah,
eating lunch. He's got an orange in his hand, and he's like,
yeah, doing the split figure, practicing the split.
look, because it's so
Oh, and
cheesy. It's so
the other thing
good.
I love about that video is does Steven Van Zandt not totally look like he wants to take Bruce home
Yes.
in
Oh
that?
my god. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, it's so
I,
funny.
I
So my favorite song is "I'm on Fire." I like that one, and I'm like, gosh, damn it! I wish it's a song that has always left me wanting more because it's like under 3 minutes. It's like barely over two, I think.
uh-huh.
So that's always been my favorite track from that one.
Oh, you cut out there for a second, Brandon.
Oh, "I'm on Fire" has been my
Oh yeah,
favorite track from that
that
one. So
that is a tremendous song. Also a great video.
yeah, but it's only like 2 minutes, and I'm like, could be more.
Yeah,
So
that was a video I remember when HBO used to show music videos between movies.
mhm.
I'm on Fire was played a lot, and maybe it was
Yeah,
because it was short,
yeah.
but they would throw in I'm on Fire between, Poltergeist and The Woman in Red or whatever.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's good stuff there. All right. Well, I'm on the socials at Brandon4KHD. You can actually catch me this weekend at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis. See my socials for showtimes and availability. And PopCon Louisville is coming up here at the end of August. Please sign yourself up for the podcast stage if you want to do a live show. Love to have you. That's at popcon.us. Monday, Scott, Aaron, and I are talking Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, Sleepover, King Arthur, and Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. All that and more as the summer of 2004 at 20 continues.